unconventional, but we got to make the best. And I'm really excited. I think it'll be a really fun program. So because it is officially a meeting, I would like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So here's the flag. You wondered why you had that. Yeah. Oh, sure. So if everybody wants to say the Pledge of Allegiance, all look like crazy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
And because the majority of our program is going to be Garza Crosse and Frankie, I think we'll do the 5-way test right now so that we don't do it at the end and do it all at the beginning. So, in all the things we think, do, and say, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And will it be fun? I don't see Madeline here, but she was going to do guests and visitors. I think we have a couple guests. If you want to just introduce yourself and what brought you here tonight, that'd be great.
Well, hello, I'm Ellen Atbury. I'm a friend of Young Rotary. I work with Katie Doyle. I'm also a great friend of mine. And when she told me there was a soup walk going on, I knew I had to be part of it, and I brought my
Thank you. It's very nice to have you guys here. And then I think, Liz, you have Brian on the call too, right?
Yep. Just say hi, Brian. Hi.
Brian does what he's.
Because I told him to come.
Brian does what he's told. Say hi.
Well, no. We got a couple in costume.
I resemble that remark too.
I don't see. Is Madeline on the call at all, you guys?
No.
All right, maybe we'll move back the World Polio Day recap to the end to see if she's able to make it. But I did want to give special recognition to Nick Regner and to Josh Nancy. They were recognized by the Seven Rivers Alliance as Rising Stars. So I think all of our Rotarians are Rising Stars, and you guys do incredible work. I'm so glad that Nick and Josh were chosen this year as Rising Stars. So congratulations, gentlemen. Thank you for all that you do for our community, for Rotary, and to make the world a better place. Madeline's here, and I am asked her if she would do, and you might have to come closer to get by the phone, if you would do a recap on World Polio Day.
Hi, everyone. World Polio Day was a great success. The kids were so happy. It was a lot of fun to get everyone out and about. Our fundraising goals were a little bit short of what we originally anticipated, but I think we came close or broke about $300 worth. I have some more in my pocket to donate today, but it was just great fun. A lot of the Rotarians hung out for the full day.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madeline.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, Madeline, for all your work, and thank you to all our volunteers, Madeline, Laura, Brandon, Justin, Sarah, Lene, Ashley, and then those are the staff, Emily, and Frank. So thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Madeline, for taking the lead on that. So we owe you for all the work and effort you made to make it.
I just wanted to give you guys a quick update that the Downtown Rotary Club is going to be doing a check presentation of over $45,000 to Raja John and the Raja's Ray of Hope on Thursday. If anybody wants to join and see that check presentation, I'll be sending out the link. But you're welcome to join that since we help make that happen and bringing more education to girls in Afghanistan. Nick, there is an upcoming event on Thursday, and I've asked Nick to share a little bit more about that.
This Thursday, we're internet clubs in the La Crosse kind of area. Pretty much every high school is banding together for a drive-through raffle. So without Moon Tunes this year and without iFeed this year, the internet clubs have like no fundraising events. So this is dollars that they use in the community and to support some of the things through IFEs like the international hunger stuff as well as the Hunger Task Force. So instead, they're going to be doing a raffle. So from 4 to 7 o'clock on Thursday, you can pretty much go to any high school, like any of the Interact high schools in the parking lot. I'll be at Logan, and you can purchase $20 worth, 20 tickets, no less, only $20. You can definitely spend more than $20, but no less than $20. And you'll have a chance to win an iPad, a kayak, snowshoes, or a gift card from local establishments. So it'll be super fun. There's cool prizes, and it supports the community. So hopefully we'll see you on Thursday at some point between 4 and 7 o'clock. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Nick. Is it a competition between the schools, so whoever sells more wins?
I mean, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a nice collaborative event, but if everybody here wants to come to Logan and spend the money so I can brag about it, it's pretty sweet. Also, it is cash or check only. There aren't online or virtual options, so just know that. Hit up a Quick Trip, ATM, or something prior stopping over and getting some tickets.
Thank you. Ashley, I know that I had asked you if you wanted to do an ugly sweater update, and I don't know if the speaker's loud enough to hear, but you can try.
Okay. What I will maybe do, I'm just gonna send out an email to the whole club this week. I'm gonna have a Facebook event here live, hopefully in the next few days. So I'll send out an email to everyone with how the event's gonna work, and then if everyone can help get the word out, that would be appreciated.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you to the committee that has worked tirelessly to figure out a solution for Rotary Lights 5 for the Ugly Sweater 5K. I think it'll be a really fun event. It'll be different, but it'll be fun. So thank you to the many of you here that have helped with that. We do have a couple upcoming service opportunities, and Caitlin, do you want to share more about that?
Yes. So on Thursday, November 19th, we are doing bell ringing for Salvation Army. I think we have most of our slots filled. I think there's somebody, but if anybody wants to join at any of the other locations, feel free to have more than 2. And then November, sorry,
13th.
it's a Sunday. We will be volunteering at Rotary Lights. We need 10 volunteers for the first shift and 10 volunteers for the second shift. I think we've got 7-ish volunteers so far, so please help us out with that.
What's the Rotary Lights stuff? Is it the North College again, or?
I don't know.
We're going to actually be manning the park this year, which is new for us since we haven't done it in the past, but because Ugly Sweater runs to be a little bit different, at this week, and they needed another night volunteers. We all decided, well, Josh and I are like, yeah, that'd be fun. So we will be manning the park, taking collections at the entrance or at the exit, whatever they need us to do. So there's 2 different shifts, and we'll pursue it.
Collecting food.
So with that, this is our meeting where I like to recognize one of our Rotarians as the Rotarian of the Month, somebody that consistently goes above and beyond to help us, to help our club, to help our members. The person that was chosen this month is fairly new to Rotary within the past year, but since joining has really just run with it. Anything that's asked, she says sure. She's taken over the service committee, and because of COVID, we've had a lot of small group volunteering sessions, so there's more coordination, and I'm very thankful that I get to call Caitlin a friend. She has just been a huge asset to our club, and so I would like to recognize Caitlin Doyle as our October Rotarian of the Month. I have a pin for you. I'll take a picture later. So Caitlin will join Amy and Dustin and Madeline as our Rotarians of the Month for 2020-2021 so far. So thank you, Caitlin, for all that you do. Yeah, would you like to to share, we won't have announcements at the end, so we're packing them all in right now. Josh is going to share about our upcoming meetings in November.
Sure. So November is Foundation Month.
Oh, yeah.
You all should know, even if you don't know. So we are looking for members to join the foundation committee, but our next meeting is going to be Jeopardy. I can't.
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Foundation Jeopardy. So it'll be interactive. There'll be some more information coming out. We'll be looking for people to be forming teams. There'll be a little competition and a little bit of fun. I think it'll be a good time. We also will be having, what's the second meeting in November?
Shelter Box.
Shelter Box. So Shelter Box is a Rotary International program from basically they have shelters that come in a box in disaster zones. So it's a pretty cool thing. You hear about the disaster zones and how kind of the good work that Rotary has done has been able to help people survive in those tough conditions. So it's a pretty powerful thing. I think we have a member of the club who's like a Shelter Box Diamond sponsor, some such. So there's that. And then just a reminder, Marissa and Jeremy's foundation match is still active. So definitely encourage you guys if you have any questions about signing up for the foundation monthly, quarterly, annually, right? Love to talk to you. And right now is a great time to do it because you get the match. So I think it's what, $2 or $3 per. What's the match?
I'll match 100% up to $500 total. And Jeremy is doing any match for anybody that does $2 a month or adds $2 a month. He'll match half of that up to $500. So I think we can do a lot of good with our generosity of our segment.
So cool, thank you. And so if anybody's interested in the foundation committee, let me know.
Thank you, Josh. I did want to bring up, and I just want to put a disclaimer that this has been a really weird year, obviously. And so I've asked Sarah to share a little bit. We have, I looked before I came, over 50% of our members are delinquent on their dues. And so this is just a reminder. I think it's probably just an oversight, that email gets, hidden or goes to spam. But we will be reaching out. Sarah is our treasurer to get everybody up on dues. If anybody has a hard time paying them, totally understand, please reach out to me. We'll make something work. So I don't want that to deter anybody from not being able to be a part of our club. So just be on alert that there will be some emails coming if you're past due on your dues. Anything else? Yeah, Josh, Sarah.
Right, so the dues are important, right? We don't have a choice to pay Rotary International. We have to pay them, and we have to pay them on a set schedule. So just like as Marissa said, if you have a hardship, please reach out. But if you are just, if you can pay, we need you to pay soon because right now we're going to have to dip into money from fundraisers because we don't have enough money to pay our RI dues because so many people are doing it. So, right, we're not going to go defunct as a club, but we do, right, it is very important, and we don't, right, we can't just say, hey, we'll pay it again 3 months from now, we'll pay RI, we don't really have a choice. So, just wanted to share. Thank you.
Anything you wanted to add?
Well, I think I can say, so I went to working and learned about some members as well. So, and then I did see the Rotary International. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And like I said, if there's any issues at all, please reach out and let's have our conversation. With that, I am going to turn it over to the one and only Bill Fisher. Bill is going to introduce our speaker for the night. Yeah, Bill, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I can hear you. You were muffled through your mask, but I could hear you.
All right, sorry. I gotta get
No, be safe. I normally read lips, but can't do that either. And then there was nobody. Okay, Marissa's attaching the audio. Josh, are you still there? All right. Hey, Marissa. Marissa, you're muted now.
I just come in.
There she
Oh,
is.
okay, all right, well, I got you, Bill.
Are we ready to go? All right. Boy, you guys are in for an unbelievable treat tonight. You guys look a little chilly. You look a little cold. I feel a shiver just looking at you out there, but you're about ready to get warmed up because you are in for something special. You know, I have some friends that believe that you can see auras around people, you know, and they can look at Lisa Cobbs and say, oh, look, she's glowing green, you know, and that kind of stuff. The lady that's going to talk to you tonight has an energy that ripples out from her that literally moves the rotation of the earth. Kelly Krieg Siegman is a remarkable person. And not only is she fierce and powerful, but her heart is just as fierce and just as powerful. I was honored to be with her in the downtown club for a number of years. I have been a joyous sponsor of the work that she did when she was with the library, and I will follow this lady to the end of the earth wherever she goes. And I've told the story before, but nobody, and I mean nobody, has ever made me blush the way that this lady can make me blush. She can find the thing that makes me more uncomfortable better than anyone I've ever met. But you guys are in for a treat tonight. So please give her your full attention. Kelly, knock them out the way I know you're going to. Have a ball, and we're excited to be here with you. Thank you so much for giving us a piece of you tonight. We really appreciate it.
Wow, oh, gee, no build up there. Well, thank you, Bill, that was extremely generous. And I think that's what I'm going to have on my tombstone is I made Bill Pritchard blush. That was my name is Kelly Krieg Siegman, and up until July of 2019, I was the director of the La Crosse Public Library. During my tenure as director, we created a little something called Dark La Crosse. The history of what we're about to see this evening started in 2011, roughly about the time some of you were born. Really my age, and I am probably ridiculous, guys, because between breathing already through it and shooting all this right away, if people have not voted, I'm warning you, do it before 5 o'clock Friday. Based on what I saw today, Tuesday is going to be a zoo. So if you haven't voted, make a plan to do it before Tuesday.
Entire day, because that's how long it's going to take. So please, I implore you. In any event, I'm going to have to get rid of the mask because I've been breathing through it all day, and my glasses keep steaming up, and I really do need to consult the script. So this project started in 2011. It started as a walking tour. Within the first 2 months of doing it, we had over 200 people on a waiting list. Then we added content and we put it on the trolley. And then in about 2015, we put it on stage at the Pump House. And up until this year, unfortunately, we were running new material every Halloween at the Pump House, known as the Dark La Crosse Project. What you're going to get tonight are my personal favorites from the original walking tour. In a piece of shameless self-promotion, I can put these pieces together in all sorts of different presentations for all sorts of different needs. So if you have a corporate event coming up post-COVID, if you are looking for a thing to do on a trolley with a bunch of family for a family reunion, this stuff is available, and Marissa can tell you how to get in touch with me, and boy, do I work. So with that in mind, I ask for your attention. This has been a great project to work on. How many of you are originally from La Crosse? Okay, how many of you have ever heard of Dark La Crosse before tonight? How many of you have been to the stage shows? Okay, any of you been on the trolley? Were any of you on the original walking tour from 2013? Great, then this is all new stuff. So, bear with me, let us begin, ladies and gentlemen. There is a Buddhist adage which states, there has to be evil so that good can prove its purity above it. In other words, our darker natures are everywhere and cannot be avoided. In the 168 odd years that La Crosse has existed as a city, we have had our share of citizens who succumbed to their darker side. Greed, murder, lust, violence, all have touched the banks of the Mississippi here in La Crosse. And within the next 45 minutes, I'm going to share just a few of them with you. Let us begin by welcoming you to, yes, the Red Light District. Operational from about 1850 until 1914, you people are standing in the heart of it right now. I find it hilariously ironic that today, one of the most family-friendly places in the county, Pearl Street Ice Cream Shop, was in the 1880s one of the best-known brothels in the area, the Grand Hotel. You have to remember that during our history at that time, this town was crawling with young, unruly men who worked on the railroads, on the riverboats, and in the lumber industry. And they needed a place to go on Friday and Saturday nights. I want now my assistant with the bag, because sometimes, thank you, sometimes a visual helps the best. It is hard to think about now, but the Red Light District in La Crosse in the 1880s looked like this. In other words, this next block over here where this beautiful new auditorium is going up was nothing but pool halls and flop houses and taverns and, yes, brothels. And that lovely Riverside Park that we're now decorating for Rotary Lights, that was mud. That was the riverfront. This is what it looked like. I'm going to pass it around. As you look at this photo, you are going to see a sign off to one side called the Palm Garden. And there will be ladies on the balcony. Now, I cannot be sure of this. We've never been able to prove it. But I'm fairly certain that the Palm Garden was not a family-friendly hotel with a tropical theme. This is what La Crosse looked like in the 1880s. And prostitution was one of the chief industries. A guy by the name of Ori Sorensen ran for mayor here in town in 1913. During his campaign, he claimed to have had a list of between 40 and 50 operational brothels. Now, just as an aside, La Crosse was only about 25,000 people in 1913. 40 to 50 operational brothels, that's a lot of brothels. Now, whether a vote for him indicated solidarity to clean up the city, or maybe it meant he would give you a copy of the list. We can only speculate. Now, chief among the brothels during this time was a young woman named Frankie LaSalle, and my able assistant with the other photograph. Frankie LaSalle, upon her death, was called the queen of the La Crosse underworld. And she was indeed a queen of the La Crosse underworld because she numbered among her patrons mostly judges, lawyers, and bankers. The parking lot of the Radisson Hotel was occupied at that time by the hotel law. Again, on this photograph, off to the left, you will see a small iron balustrade balcony over a doorway, a very discreet doorway. That was Frankie LaSalle's place of operation. Frankie was known for one thing in particular. Despite being very active in her chosen career and despite being arrested many times, she was never convicted. The reason? She always asked for a trial by jury. During said trial, because her customers were all very high-ranking men, all of the witnesses for the prosecution would suddenly forget everything, and all of the witnesses for the defense spoke of her glowingly. She would receive a fine, she would pay it, and she'd be on her way. The one time that Frankie was jailed, it was for contempt of court when she told the judge to go to hell. Not being inclined to spend the night in jail, however, she tied her bed sheets together, she slipped through the 6-inch bars, and she escaped. After the turn of the century, around 1910, a group of laws were passed by the state legislature that effectively outlawed the red light districts in the state of Wisconsin. Frankie retired from public life, tried her hand at restaurant work, didn't work out so well. Then she disappeared from public view until her death. Despite having made a great deal of money during her life, she died with only $3 to her name. It wasn't until well after her death that it was discovered that Frankie LaSalle gave away a lot of money to orphanages, and to poor families. So the next time you take your family to the Pearl Street Ice Cream Shop to enjoy a family-friendly activity, just remember the ground you're walking on. At our next stop now, I'm going to tell you the story of 2 murders and a horrific suicide that resulted in today even a bar being known as haunted. Please follow me.
Hey, Bill, can you guys hear okay?
Yep, we can hear. We actually heard.
Thumbs up.
I heard.
Can you guys hear all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't hear them. Hopefully they can.
Yep, Liz and Brian said yes too. Yes, Marissa, we can hear you. Lisa says yes.
Send Josh a text if you can. Oh, we're just stopping traffic here. No big deal.
No big deal.
May I ask you guys to give me a 6-foot circle here?
Oh yeah.
One of your number just asked me a question, and I realized that I was quite remiss. This entire product was created by the Archives Department of the La Crosse Public Library. For every story that you hear tonight, and for every story that we've done with the trolley tour and with the stage show, we have a complete file of each story. So if you ever wanted to go in and see the original newspaper clippings, etc., all you have, well, right now you have to call ahead and you have to make an appointment. But when normalcy, whatever that means, returns, you can go in and follow up on each of these stories to see all the stuff that we pulled to create the story itself. I should also point out that while some things have been fictionalized, the basic facts are documented. Now, whether or not Frankie LaSalle actually looked like me, I doubt it very much. But what I told you about her was absolutely true. So, I can't tell you how much fun I've had over the years giving tours to people and showing them the lousy service neon sign. It is regrettable that it is not on because it's half the fun, but in 1932, just before the casino bar opened to provide La Crosse with its proudly promoted lousy sign, this building was the home of Paul Jostin's barbershop. Paul Jostin was quite well known. He was a native to La Crosse, and he was quite respected in the community. But then in September of 1932, Paul Jostin's world began to fall apart. His wife, Frances Jostin, who was 13 years younger than he was, filed for divorce and moved out. Paul was devastated. On September 21st, Paul spotted his estranged wife in the company of some jockeys and other out-of-town people at the La Crosse International Fairgrounds racetrack, which is currently on UWL's campus, is now part of UWL's campus. She was in the company of these strangers. He was furious. Later that evening, one of the people, a jockey by the name of Billy Smith, he was from St. Paul, Minneapolis, St. Paul area, pulled away from the curb here in downtown on an apartment on 4th Street. In his car was Frances Jostin, another jockey named George Stewart, and George Stewart's wife. What they did not know was that Paul Jostin had been tailing them all day and was right behind them. At some point, Frances turned around, recognized her estranged husband's car, and she urged Billy Smith to try and lose him. Well, unfortunately, Billy wasn't from these parts, so he was unacquainted with the city streets and ended up at a dead end. As he ended up at the dead end, he stopped the car, he jumped out. Paul Johnston pulled in right behind him, jumped out of his car, pulled out a gun, and said, I told you I was going to get you, and now I got you. He shot Billy Smith in the chest once, killing him instantly. In the meantime, George Stewart had tried to jump out of the car to stop the altercation. Paul swung around, put 2 bullets in him. He then also shot his wife 3 times. After all of this, he calmly got back into his car, drove back to this spot, went into his barber shop, wrote out 2 notes. One to the Police and Fire Commission and one to his mother. He then called the police department, told them what he had done, and told them where they could find him. As the police approached, Paul took out his gun one more time, put it to his own head, and pulled the trigger. When the police got here, Paul was dying in a pool of his own blood. George Stewart would die 2 days later. Francis Johnston, however, despite having been shot 3 times, recovered and moved far away from La Crosse for obvious reasons. Now, a year later, it got sold and became the Casino Bar. Here's the ghost. When we were researching this story and all the stories on this tour, we talked to the property owners along the way because we knew we were going to be bringing groups of people by, and if they wanted to come out and talk about, you know, their building or anything else they had experienced or anything else they wanted to add, they could. When we sat down with the owner of the bar in 2011, he struck me as a very calm, reasonable man, a little like Brandon here, you know, reasonable, calm. And we were talking about this story and he was aware of it. And then we brought up the fact that over the years, oh yeah, the Casino Bar is haunted. And the gentleman who owned the bar became very quiet. And he said, well, he said, I don't know. He said, but I can tell you this. I have been in my basement after bar time many times, changing out kegs, cleaning up, restocking, whatever. And he said, I have heard footsteps on the floor above me. So if you're going to believe in a ghost story and a haunted bar in downtown La Crosse, my money is on this one. Now our next stop is going to be another barbershop story where the owner of that barbershop had an encounter with public enemy number 1. Oh, you can smell the out right there. Do we know what's going on here?
Just that. I think they're doing apartments upstairs, and I know that because a guy that works for my dad was delivering cabinets there, and I heard that they want to do a brewery downstairs, but they don't have a brewery yet. So I don't know. That's rumor. I don't know if that's true.
This is certainly an uncertain time to be starting a new business venture.
Oh yeah.
We have a shortage of breweries in La Crosse, don't we?
I think there's like 3 apartments being built upstairs or something.
By the way, that elephant ear was delicious. They're hard to find. You can only find them at like festival at certain times, and so you got to buy a pack of them.
I don't know that I've ever had one. What does it taste like?
Of course not, because it's not a vegetable. It is a. It is basically, think of if you're making almost anything you have left over. You put butter, leftover dough, cinnamon, and sugar, and you bake it. So they're called elephant ears. You just roll out some piece of, pastry dough that you've left over.
Well, that sounds good.
It is very good, and they're fried crispy.
Making me thirsty.
Aren't elephant ears sometimes pork too?
That's a pork rind. I've never heard of it called an elephant ear, but and I could honestly say I've never had one of those.
Oh,
I've never had a pork rind because to me it's like gizzards. No, thank you.
yeah,
Back to Frankie.
yes.
If you've never been to the dark lacrosse thing she does, by the way, that when they do this stage presentation, you gotta go.
When I do the trolley tours for groups and we do the historic city trolley tours, I always remark at this point that one of the really fun things about living in La Crosse is that there is just a boatload of quirky little history in all sorts of quirky little places, and this is one of them. For 45 years, what is today the Tree Huggers Co-op, best incense in town. Hey, when you're old, you get to burn a lot of incense. This was the home of Ted's Barbershop, owned and operated by Ted Lappitz. It was a hot, humid day, July 20th, 1934. Ted had his front door propped open to catch a breeze. That afternoon, a large Cadillac pulled up right here with 3 men in it. The guy in the back seat got out of the Cadillac, walked in, and asked for a shave. As Ted was putting the hot towels on his face, he happened to look down, and underneath the guy's jacket were 2 guns, one on either side. It was at that moment that Ted Lappitz realized he was about to give a shave to public enemy number 1, the most wanted man in America at that time, John Dillinger. Now, John Dillinger and his crew did a lot of really nefarious things up here in the upper Midwest, and Ted knew it. But things were about to get even weirder when Ted looked out to see who was behind the wheel of the car. Driving the car was Babyface Nelson. Now, Babyface Nelson, that was not his real name. I don't know if you knew that. His real name was actually, and suddenly it just blanked out on me. Hang on a second. It wasn't Lester Joseph Gillis. But he got the nickname Babyface when he tried to steal some diamond jewelry from the then mayor of Chicago's wife, who described him as having had a baby face. And he hated that nickname. In any event, Ted Lappitz proceeded with his shave of John Dillinger. 2 days later, John Dillinger was shot dead in front of the Biograph Theater in Chicago by the FBI. He was clean shaven at the time, so it's a pretty sure bet he had another shave. But old Ted would never forget his encounter with public enemy number 1. And the reason we know this is because many years later, when he retired and they did the big article in the Tribune about Ted Lappitz, the lead in the story was the fact that he had given John Dillinger a shave. Now, little sidebar. When we did this the first time, the walking tour, we had step out actors. How many of you are familiar with Michael Scott? Okay, if you know Michael was integral to this project. And at this particular point in the tour, Michael did a step out actor scene as Babyface Nelson. Ask him about it because he knocked him dead every night. He would step out of the crowd. Nobody was ever expecting it. In fact, one woman just shrieked one night. Oh my God, lady, calm down. But if you know Mike, either socially or professionally, ask him about doing Babyface Nelson because he knocked it out of the park every night. Now, at our next stop, I'm going to tell you the story of a soldier from World War II who might have been a terrific soldier and a hero in the war if it hadn't been for his terrible temper. So we're going to backtrack this way a little bit.
Still doing virtual classes, Lisa?
Yep. I'm multitasking right now, and someone wants to drop because the online learning environment is not good for him. So I'm giving him permission to drop.
They have to get your permission always, or only after a certain number of days in the class?
It's only after like the first week or 2, and this semester they have until December. Normally they have until like the beginning of October.
Yeah.
So they're given a much wider berth this semester.
Does that affect you in any way? Do you like get a bonus for students or something like that? Or
No, they take 10-day numbers, so they count enrollment after 10 days of class. So even if someone drops now, my 10-day numbers would be what they were at 10 days.
and that is how part of your list was.
No, it just is enrollment for the university. So I mean, it doesn't have a direct impact on me, but it does say like these are the number of students that are enrolled at UWL.
Does a professor who attracts more students to their classes receive any type of benefit from that?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Because I mean, some of them are like the classes are required. So
I understand.
teach a required class, it doesn't matter if someone likes you or not.
I understand. Unless there was more than one choice of the teacher.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Right, and sometimes there's not.
I still have all my money from my education. And so I have cash on me for, I normally don't.
I had cash like a couple days ago, and then I don't usually carry cash.
I don't either.
Maybe
Although-
I do like Venmo or
Yeah.
something. Card. Love your costume, by the way.
Amazing.
Oh, thanks. I was like, what's, it was either
I'm going
this or
through my pile of
Motorola.
women's clothing
And I was
catalogs
like,
I get
I don't know
literally
if I
every
want to wear
day.
a mask
Like
over my face.
clothing
I know,
catalogs.
I
There's
didn't,
one
couldn't do it for
Obi-
long.
I'm
Just getting
Obi-
sweaty in there and everything.
No
and
idea.
cold at the same time.
But-
It's gross.
These shirts, which appear to be just like what they look like they are, a basic
I
little
know.
cotton
Can you
shirt.
circle if you would, please?
You spend $168 to buy this shirt.
But listening
Ooh,
to you
you're
and
almost
Josh
a meter.
talk about
Oh, we're almost a
That's a lot.
meter.
Yeah.
If there was a
Kristen's probably still working.
sometimes there is a dramatic difference in the quality of the cloth. But I don't know.
Like I say, quirky little places with quirky little histories.
And so sometimes, like,
Okay, this building behind me, which has been vacant now for like way too long, was in the 1940s the site of the Fifth Avenue Buffet and the favorite hangout of Private First Class Joe Goins of Company F, 9th Infantry, 2nd Division. He was from Benton, Arkansas, and he might have been a great soldier if it hadn't been for his terrible temper. On May 9th, 1943, Goins got into an argument here with a guy named Private James Woodward of Ruby, South Carolina. Both men were being trained for combat at Fort McCoy. What started the fight, nobody ever found out. But as the altercation escalated, Joe Goins pulled out his Dallas Special, which is a small knife designed to hide up your sleeve. Somebody check Brendan, he's probably got one. And he stabbed James Woodward a lot. As Woodward lay in a pool of blood, Goins retreated out the door, flagged down a woman near 4th and J, and asked to be driven anywhere. The woman, noticing the blood on his trousers, took him to St. Francis Hospital, which is, of course, today Mayo Health System, where he arrived at the very same time as his victim. He ditched the knife, ran past St. Rose's Convent, went to the St. Wenceslaus Rectory, and asked to use a phone. Must have been quite a thing for the priest to open the door and see this guy. In any event, a cab showed up at the rectory, picked up Goins, and Goins again said, just start driving. So that's exactly what the cabbie did. They got as far north as the Blue, right about where the Blue Moon today is. It was called the Willow Inn at that time. After the driver had spotted the blood on Goins' trousers, he thought maybe he should call the police after dropping Goins off. In any event, the police caught the call. They called the owner of the Fifth Avenue Buffet, a guy by the name of Sly Delaney, who actually knew all about it because Goins had gotten into a fight with somebody else earlier in the week. The police found Goins up at the Willow Inn. He was wandering around the parking lot and he said, "You got me. I'm the one you're after." He was put in jail. Army officials came to pick him up the next day. Now, nobody knows exactly what happened to him after that. Most probably a dishonorable discharge and some hard time at Leavenworth. But here's the irony. His temper And his desire to fight just might have prolonged his life, because the rest of his infantry got shipped out, and their first engagement was the Battle of the Bulge. And for those of you who are World War II fans, you know that that was one of the bloodiest battles for the Americans in World War II. At our next stop, there's going to be a little side story I'm going to share with you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a suicide in a long forgotten boarding house, and then we will end in the pump house parking lot.
This is a nice meeting that you get to move around rather than sit in one spot.
Yeah. It's almost like you'd want to be out there freezing with them, right?
I have some hand warmers left. I could have brought some of those.
I do too somewhere. Yeah.
Should have worn my winter boots. My toes are
Before you
numb.
came on the call, I was trying to talk Ashley into joining us at one of these hikes. She goes, "No, I'm just not a tent girl." I said, "Well, okay. I'm not much of a tent guy either, but I will find a way."
Well, I can understand. I mean, the cold, I can understand not wanting to put up with the cold, but sleeping on the ground it's not that bad.
No, it's, I mean, again, as time has gone on and my body is in bad shape and old, it hurts more. It does hurt more. I mean, the thing I don't remember about sleeping, and I have probably put in thousands of nights on the ground, right? I don't remember the pressure points I remember around. And the pads back then weren't these luxurious pads we sleep on now. They were a piece of foam that you rolled up in a ball, right? And I don't remember the pressure points. And so it's harder on me. I love it though. I adore it. I mean, to me, it's my Zen experience. And that's why I love walking. I mean, no question. I love talking with everybody when we're walking, but I adore just walking by myself too.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed it very much.
What you were thinking about when you're walking, you're just kind of walking, and and your brain goes wherever it's going, and you work through issues, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
I agree. Being outside, there's something to that.
Very, very true. Well, maybe.
I moved back here 17 years ago, and downtown was just starting to get taken off. I was so impressed.
Our catalog down.
Kids have, I remember when I was growing up,
When I was growing up back in the dark ages. White guys.
When you're talking about it being like a dude, did you work in City Hall today? Or are you talking about this thing in Salem?
No, I was working City Hall outside directing the in-person absentees.
There's a lot of people there.
Oh my God, they're averaging 500 to 600 people a day coming in for in-person absentees.
I guess hopefully that means that Tuesday won't be as bad.
We hope. I will get down the right up here. I'm also working the polls on Tuesday, so I hope.
Working on Tuesday too.
Okay. You'll notice that I am standing on a piece of cement that looks a little bit newer than the rest of the cement. Within weeks of completing the first dark lacrosse walking tour script, this happened, and I don't know if you guys remember it or not, but the owner of Glory Days had some kind of utility problem here, and they had to tear up the cement. And while they were doing it, 6 feet down, they uncovered a loaded, cocked, ready to fire ladies' Derringer dating back as far as 1865. The Archives Department of the library has been making themselves crazy ever since then, trying to figure out what had been going on in this part of the neighborhood, say around 1865, 1870, where somebody would have been holding a loaded cocked Derringer and it ended up being dropped. So when you're thinking about digging up your backyard, you know, for utilities or whatever, bear that in mind because you will never know what you might find. If Quarry Days ever does reopen through all of this, he actually has the gun in a little display case behind the bar. But we were so ticked when it happened right after we finished the script because we thought, oh, would that be another great story to kind of add? And we are still trying to research it. We're always open to any hints that anybody might be able to give us about what would have been going on. You know, what kind, I like to imagine that it was some kind of lover's spat, and suddenly, right as she was about to put him away, he said, "Oh, honey, I love you," and she just went, "Oh, forget it." All right, moving on.
Isn't she great? She's just great. She was so good for the library too. She was, you know, if the library needed something, she had the ability to go and ask the right people, and we would, you know, it didn't have to go through. That sounds bad, but it didn't have to go through the boards or anything else. She just came and said, "We really like to put in this display for the kids, and we need $1,500, you know, or something to build this or that or the other thing." And she had a lot of friends of the library that would help out.
Did she retire?
She did retire. Yeah, Pat Bogey. Well, no, Pat's laid off now too. Or left. I don't know who the current person is. I haven't met him or her yet, which is probably not good on my part, and certainly not good on their part. If I was a friend of the library and they haven't.
That might be a COVID thing.
Like, what are they doing? Are they chatting with each other?
COVID thing?
It'd be a bad thing for them.
They're not
Oh,
good.
COVID related.
So they're
Oh,
probably
maybe.
conversing.
But a letter or a reach out or something.
Yeah.
But, so here you go. What do you think of these?
Looks like you guys had fun up north.
Well,
That's where you were, right?
are those vests
Yeah.
or coats?
Waistcoats. So it's like it's a little more substantial than a vest, no sleeves.
Oh, yeah.
So they're like, you can wear them under a sports coat like a vest.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of plaid in that.
Good thing you guys know how to have fun. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you like that, that would be wonderful.
I think that I would be the only person in lacrosse wearing it, and that
I think I've
is kind of
used the term quirky now a number of times, and this would be another one. The Archives Department stumbled across a story from 1998 about a grave marker up in Campbell Cemetery, commemorating Norwegian immigrants from the end of the 19th, early 20th century, and particularly someone named Martin O'Dock. And they went back into the records and researched it. And here's what we found out. In the 1880s, you are standing at what had been at that time a boarding house called the Nora House that catered to Norwegian immigrants and first-generation Norwegian Americans. In 1888, a guy by the name of Martin O'Dock was staying here. Quiet man, he was a painter. He got up one morning, had his breakfast, went off to his job, apparently in good spirits. Came back at noon for his lunch and was very withdrawn, very, very frustrated looking, and was speaking about a woman named Mary. And his friends and the other people at the boarding house had never heard him mention anybody by the name of Mary, but he was going on and on about this wonderful Mary. He finished his lunch, he went up to his third-story room. About 4 o'clock in the afternoon, as the maids were doing their work up there, they heard some sounds coming from Martin's room. And they opened the room only to find Martin had cut his throat, severing both major arteries, and was bleeding to death right in front of them. After he passed, the papers did some interviews with his brother-in-law, who accused him of being drunk. And he was buried very ignobly no ceremony, nothing. In fact, nobody ever knew anything about it until the Sons of Norway in the early 1990s wanted to do something to commemorate the Norwegian Americans in this part of Wisconsin and give them some kind of memory. And that's when they found the story about Martin. It was rather tragic in a way because Martin had immigrated here with hopes of great riches in America and ended up dying apparently of unrequited love, but then being discovered almost a century later and being commemorated in a marker for all first generation Norwegian American immigrants and what they contributed to the country. Yes, my dear.
I have a question.
Yes.
What are we speaking about?
We are speaking about an occurrence that occurred on this site in 1888 in a boarding house that doesn't exist here anymore.
Okay, so basically this is like
this is a walking history tour that I am doing for the After Hours Rotary Club.
Okay, awesome.
So,
guys, I just wanted to know if you guys were talking about the Christ.
No. This is not religious. This is not a political protest. No.
Okay, so before you begin speaking once again, I thank you so much for explaining yourself and telling me what you're talking about.
Hey, listen, the best story is coming if you want to tag along.
It is. I got my selfie stick. The best story of occurrence is actually December 21st to December 25th. All the planets are going to be aligned. The sun is going to disappear for 3 days, and we're going to be able to see every single galaxy and every single planet that's in existence. Okay, for this 7 days. Okay?
Does that mean that my husband will finally give me a decent Christmas gift?
This means that your husband might disappear right before your eyes.
Oh my God!
Okay, so understand this.
I gotta continue, honey. I'm on a time schedule.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Be well, my friend.
I might sound crazy.
She runs across all kinds.
Inside out like a microwave.
She handled it well.
She's had a lot of experience with this stuff, but I'm hoping that somebody steps in to make sure that she can continue. Well handled there, Cal.
Never a dull moment in Rotary After Hours. Lisa's on there. I can't see him. There are new friends.
Are they still following?
I thought he was gonna pull his thing out. I was like, all right, which dude's gonna take care of this? Oh, weird. Wow. We think that at least we sleep with zero. I don't blame her. Boy. Oh gosh. Don't let him across.
I have to jump on another call, so I'm going to leave, but it was nice seeing you all and listening to a little bit.
We do have a pro wrestler in the squad. So yeah, we have a pro wrestler. We got some social workers.
Go get him, Nick.
Yeah.
Go get him. Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Hey. Man.
Liking how the snow is still on.
Excuse me. So Brian, what do you wear? I know those are like the normal pajamas. So what are the what's the? No, those aren't the normal pajamas.
It's Where's Waldo?
Yes.
And Carmen San Diego.
Oh, got it. Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Should have put it on the screen as our names.
No, I think they can.
Well, you can never. You do not
Hi,
judge.
Elise and Rudy.
Do not judge the effectiveness of your costumes. That might
She doesn't
have
have
to
her camera on.
I would never put myself out there to be hip and cultural. I don't have that cultural side to me. So, oh, we're in the pump house parking lot.
My assistant is, and did she retrieve all the photographs?
Yes, I got them both.
Good. Take the one out with the Palm Garden again, which is the steamboat and everything, just to reset your mind. It's 1899. None of this is here. The river is right there. Right there. All right. This is all really crummy. All right. A really crummy section of town. So you got it? It was 1899 where a murder in cold blood occurred that resulted in the longest, most sensational murder trial in the history of the city to date. And it all started right here. 1899, Teddy Galster and William Kerr, two friends, were enjoying some beverages at the notorious Blue Front Saloon, which stood right here. This place was full of villainous characters, thieves, robbers, pickpockets, prostitutes, and politicians. It was owned by city alderman Henry Lexius, and it was said that old Henry conducted more city business out of the Blue Front Saloon than he did at City Hall itself. After refreshing themselves for a while, Teddy Galster and William Kerr proceeded north along Front Street, where they were met by three men coming south. Now, both groups were complete strangers to one another, but both groups had been drinking, words were exchanged, and the altercation escalated. That is hard to say at the end of an evening. John C. Miller, one of the group of three, particularly angry, pulled out a knife and stabbed William Kerr 9 times. With 9 bleeding knife wounds, William Kerr managed to stagger 4 blocks before collapsing. Immediately following the stabbing, witnesses in the area saw John C. Miller and his 2 companions rinsing the blood off of John C. Miller's knife at a fire hydrant in front of what is now the Pearl Street ice cream shop at 2nd and Pearl. John C. Miller and his 2 buddies proceeded to go out and enjoy the rest of the evening, frequenting a number of other saloons, bragging about the altercation earlier. By the time the police caught up, it was very clear that John C. Miller was not going to go quietly or easily. After wrestling him to the ground, it took 3 police officers, and when they finally did get him down, he screamed that he was going to kill everybody in city government from the mayor on down. To the citizens of La Crosse, this was an open and shut case. Except John C. Miller was the son of August Miller, who owned a very profitable broom making factory, who sat on the La Crosse Board of Trade, and who was an alderman for the 14th Ward, all of which made him a very important man. On January 9th, 1900, the trial began. The district attorney had prepared his case for 7 months. His opening statement was nearly 7 hours long. All 3 defendants had separate lawyers. John C. Miller's attorney argued self-defense, citing that John C. Miller had suffered a cracked jaw. Now, most people thought that the cracked jaw had come from fighting with the police and had nothing to do with William Kerr, but that was never brought up at trial. The chief witnesses for the prosecution were prostitutes in the employ of a woman named Hazel Winter, who ran the most lovely name, Bullpen Brothel. Hazel and her women were treated disgracefully on the stand. In fact, at one point, Hazel, who was the chief witness for the prosecution, John C. Miller's attorney asked the jury if Hazel's face wasn't the most fiendish and repulsive thing they had ever seen. There was an objection, and it was sustained. Now, at the beginning of this tour, I told you that we had step-out actors doing various things. Michael Scott was Babyface Nelson. Would you like to know who portrayed Hazel Winter?
Brandon Harris?
Would you like to meet her?
Oh.
This was Hazel's monologue. Can you believe that? That lawyer treating me like that? Me, Hazel Winter. Let me tell you something, darlings. I've been running bawdy houses for a lot of years, doing business with the most nefarious of men, and I have never been treated so despicably in my entire life. That's right, sugar. I ran bawdy houses in Memphis and in New Orleans. I moved up here about 5 years ago to share the love, as they say. And I have always been good and fair to my girls and to my customers. So for a lawyer to question my moral character, darlings, we are practically in the same business. The only difference is when I get done screwing my customers, they feel good about it. I seen John C. Miller kill that poor boy in cold blood. He was crazier than a peach orchard hog that night. He carried on like he was possessed by the furies he was. That boy should have been locked up for life. But his daddy is a bigwig in town. His daddy knows all the important people. So when it came time for the verdict on first-degree murder, not guilty. Them other two were acquitted outright. And John C. Miller, second-degree manslaughter. Second-degree manslaughter. Can you all believe that? Let me tell you, no one could. It was terrible how that boy got off. My friend Mabel, now she said I should go down and visit the city officials and lodge a complaint. I said I would. But I don't have to go down and visit them. They come and visit me all the time. And that was Hazel's monologue.